Finally, the one night my favorite show's on and I take it off. It's back after being on this long hiatus. Brand new season. Can't wait. Jesus Christ. Hello?
Hello, Batsy.
What do you want?
Well, just...
My favorite show's on now. Leave me alone.
Oh.
I don't want to talk to you right now. Leave me alone.
Fine.
It's my night off.
Goodbye.
That's right. What the fuck? Hello?
Hello, Batman. I've got a...
No.
What?
Leave me alone.
I've got hostages.
God. Jesus Christ.
Riddle me this...
Fuck off, Riddler. Not tonight.
Huh?
Welcome. It's Friday night. Well, it's Saturday in some places already. Normally, I'd be hanging out on Foul Ball Productions right about now, but poor Matt's having some issues. So our good buddy Paulie's like, fuck it, let's stream. Oh, there goes the monetization in the first few minutes. Oh, shit. Little old school intro from our buddy Culture Casino there. Welcome, all y'all. We got some people coming in. I see Eric Winberg already in the chat. Say hello. We got Stephen Otten, Annabelle. How you doing? Welcome. We also have with us Paulie, as I mentioned. How you doing, buddy?
What's up, man? I love the old intro.
Right? Oh, yeah. And we also have with us, I think this is the first, is this the first time you've ever been on Midnight's Edge After Dark? I'm not sure, clobbering times.
It is, at least after dark, that's for sure. Morning.
All right. That's right. Wow.
Yep.
Well, welcome. And we also have with us, I think also for the second time.
Yep, the Vigilante Wears here with the second episode of Midnight's Edge After Dark. I think second, could be third.
I could be even third. You're right. Could be the trilogy.
Is he second or third?
That's right. We've got Dark Yodam Star or Yodam Dark Star. I'm dyslexic today. No Legs to Stand On. Krusty Moko, Mad Vibe. Hello. Everybody's coming on in.
Yeah.
Welcome. It's Friday night. Word up, says Raptors 50. That's right.
Orale.
What we had a hell of a fucking week, dude.
What a week.
Met one of my heroes. Well, you met two heroes, it sounded like, and I met one and a half.
You guys had an awesome week.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Edward James almost from here to the moon, but I met Richie Valens, dude.
Yeah.
Chavez, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
First Power, Longmire.
No shit. I mean, and y'all know a little bit if you've heard, like me and La Bamba go way back, and that's where Paulie and I first clicked real good.
Ugh.
And he realized, oh shit, this kid knows what he's talking about.
I'm gonna restrain myself from really going off on a rant on all the fucked up news. Oh, sorry, on all the news.
Oh, we got some bad news in that area, but let's concentrate on the good first.
The good first is that Edward James Mr. Almost actually said Krusty Moko's name.
Yes, that was fucking amazing. And I was just waiting for Helen Mirren to pop in somewhere, just randomly. Hello, boys! I knew you were doing another one of these, so I came over to Edward's house, and I just thought I'd say hello. I was waiting for it, just waiting for it. No, I'm just kidding. It would have been a trip. But no, we raised some money for the Latino theater company, which was great.
Thousands of dollars.
Yeah. And Paulie, dude, you pulled off a miracle with that because you did the most heavy lifting with that whole thing between you and Mike. Man, we cannot give you guys enough praise for putting that whole thing together. I mean, up until the last minute, it was even just crazy. But wow, just amazing job you guys did. And just being able to be a part of it was something else, man.
Yeah, man. You know, it was fantastic putting all the elements together. Robert Meyer Burnett, you gentlemen, and Mexican Iron Man. And then we also had the watch. I think having the watch party the night before was the right move. That was a really good move.
Yeah, that did seem to go really well. It was a big success for the most part.
Yeah. And
I think we're going to do some more of those. I think you were talking. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I think so. Andre had a great idea of doing Zorro. The original
Zorro. Yes, Mask of Zorro from 1920.
Oh. Yeah. Tyrone Power, junior, senior.
Because the best part of that is we can actually show it while we're watching it because it's
I was just going to ask, is that public domain?
I mean, it's on YouTube as well.
Yeah, we actually have it on YouTube. It's public domain, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, I mean, you know, what a week. Thank you to all the people who are here hanging out with us tonight. If you guys were there yesterday or saw the replay or even gave money, thank you guys. You know, it was a fantastic thing to undertake and
once in a lifetime experience, man.
I mean,
crazy enough, we did Blood In, Blood Out, which was insane.
Yeah,
fucking insane.
Yeah, have you guys seen any of those movies, Vigilante?
Oh, I saw Stand and Deliver. I have not seen Blood In, Blood Out.
Oh, Blood In, Blood Out's a great fucking movie.
See that?
Yeah, they got it wrong. I think it's Douglas Fairbanks. I'm sorry.
What were you saying, Cloud?
I'm sorry. I was thinking of Tyrone Power, but it was Douglas Fairbanks, I think, in that original 1920. I can't believe I've messed that up.
Oh, you're talking about Zorro?
Zorro, yeah.
Zorro from 20, yeah. Power played him later.
Junior, I think it was, but yeah.
Check out
Douglas Fairbanks, yeah.
Vigilante. Check out Blood In, Blood Out. It's basically going to be a Chicano relic because it's like way too toxic and stereotypical. Mm-hmm. And it was directed by a white man. So good heavens, that'll never happen again.
Yeah. It probably won't. But when I saw you guys talk about it, it looked like something I would like. So I do kind of want to check it out.
You'd love it. I'm surprised you haven't seen it.
Captain Air says, Tom, I insist you drag Rob out of the drunk tank and make him suffer. I've been remiss in my feeding and need to recoup the loss. I wish that was all that was wrong with Rob, was that he was drunk, but we're not getting into that. So
no.
Anyway. Yeah, I did miss Doomcock's trivia. He had a full house, though, so I was like, I'll sit this one out.
But it works out that we all could be here, and any foul ballers, midnight effers, we're glad you guys are here. Vigilante, Clobbering.
Yeah. Tom's on the show a lot. I don't know if Clobbering's made it yet.
Yeah,
it's a fun show. It sucks that we can't have it. But hopefully Matt's computer will be up by next week, and we can do it next week. Or if it's up this weekend, maybe a replacement show. Who knows?
Well, computers be computering. I had a big ass update. Maybe that's his issue.
Maybe. Appreciate everybody in the chat. Quite a few people in the chat.
No, it was crazy I'm not kidding, because I would have missed part of today's show if it wasn't for me getting up early today. For some weird reason, I went to bed early last night and I got up early, and it was like almost like a godsend because it literally took me almost an hour to boot my computer up.
Oh man,
I'm not even being hyperbolic.
Computers too live, and it sucks. Every now and again, my sound card will just crap the bed.
Well, this was an update, and it was a huge one, so it took 40 some minutes to do its thing. So I was like, "Are you goddamn kidding me?" I was like, "Thank God I got up early," because usually I don't get up till just like hour before the show if I'm lucky. Half hour I get in on the computer or whatever, and it's like if I'd have been sitting here, I'd been probably 40 minutes late for the show probably. But anyway, 6. When did I start memberships? A couple weeks ago, actually. And hopefully I'll have our first membership stream soon. That's something I got to get
300 Mirrors is here.
Oh, we got 300 Mirrors here? Too cool.
Oh,
hello.
My.
She's great.
Hey. Lovely lady.
Yeah. All right. So, Polly.
Yeah.
Almost sounds like he says 6 is like 47 minutes. Sounds like a good time. It probably is because this computer is not the slowest in the world. It is actually a decent, like a lower end gaming PC. So that probably isn't bad. This update probably for a slower computer would probably take 2 hours. You're right. But no, Paulie, someone's really bugging you, and rightfully so. Rightfully so.
This is 6.
Oh, 6. Oh, that's
Congo
amazing.
Level.
Awesome.
6.
Congo. So, Paulie, and I hate to get real serious on everybody here, but this is something that we've talked about in the past, specifically when it comes to Deranged Lunatic also joined up. Thank you so much for that. We got Dr. Coffin Nails who joining us too. I see some more faces coming in. Awesome, guys. but no, this is kind of a serious thing because we've talked about before about how a lot of these shows and movies are trying to use diversity to virtue signal off of, or sexuality to virtue signal off of. I mean, shit, we even got, Timmy for that specific reason, because who would put a fucking wheelchair on a starship? But yeah, as we've said, that none of this shit is ever going to change until people start standing up and saying, no, and enough's enough. I'm not going to be used as your circus freak anymore. But it's going deeper than that now, Paulie. Because at least before, I assumed that even though they were being used as token diversity, I thought they were getting paid at least.
Paid a decent wage, huh?
Yeah, where's the equity or the equality even here, man? I mean, these people are all talking about equity, and I don't not even seen any equality.
Oh, they're talking diversity and representation and equity and all in the same breath, right? They're slipping it. They're bending over their employees and slipping it to them behind them, right? Anyways, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have given you the visual there, but
no, but you're right, Paulie. This is something that you've talked about all day today. Not all day, but you talked about it this morning. We talked about it a little bit.
I actually talk about it all the time on the channel.
Yeah, you do. But I mean, this is something that specifically dropped because of this article that you're talking about.
Right. So, what's wrong with being sexy?
What's wrong with being sexy?
Sexist.
Oh, sexist. It'd be different if she was making him smell the glove, right?
It's just that twist. That
twist. It's a fine line between being clever and stupid.
Stupid, yes.
But no, do you got a link for that so I can show it on screen here at least so people know what we're talking about? LA Times article?
Let me grab that.
I don't know if I'll be able to get it to open up, but
so it's actually been trending all day.
Expose, I should say, not article.
Right. The LA Times, the headline, Selena writers say Netflix disrespected the singer and staff. They basically, poor pay, brutal schedule, low budget, basically, it was...
That's mighty white of them.
Did they hit him with the, you should be happy to be working here?
The sad thing is, Vidge.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because before you actually got here, Paulie and I were talking about this, and that's kind of the vibe I was getting.
You are not. Oh wait, I forget that we're in StreamYard.
Yeah, just go ahead and share it, or just send it to me, either or.
Yeah, here you go, private chat.
All right, cool.
You are not wrong, Vidge, and that's where there's that saying in Spanish, "La misma canción." It's the same fucking song. That's a old school. That's an old school. Treatment we're used to. It's like
they've been doing that since Hollywood started. Oh, you should be happy to be here. Like, well, what do you do without us? What do you do without the talent? We see what they do without the talent. There's not the talent in Hollywood anymore because they've scared them off with the whispered net and all the other craziness. They scared off every different race. And I was talking about the tokenization earlier because I was talking about toking, and they said, "Oh, representation is important." I said, "Listen, I'd rather there never be another black character in any media if you're going to make every black man gay. I have no disrespect to the gay brothers and sisters, but if you're just going to do that for every single character, just I'd rather you don't. If you're going to effeminize and emasculate every black male character, I'd rather you just don't do it. That's what I'd rather." And to hear this, they're not even going to pay the people that you're doing this stuff with. It's like, it's
number
disgusting.
one show, 23 countries.
Wow.
Right? First of all, they totally disrespected her legend beforehand, saying, well, she's just big in Mexico. Right?
No.
Then you produce it all in Mexico. Oh yeah, bro. Right?
Wow.
So I had heard whispers about the actors not getting paid a decent wage, if you know what I mean, right? Because I've had some of the actors on my channel, right? But then for this to come out on today, where today's supposed to be in the heights, you'd think Obama got reelected. It's like the second coming, And I'm excited. I'm gonna go see In the Heights. I'll give it my money and give it a review. I heard Geeks and Gamers, some of the people gave it favorable reviews, which is great. But it's one movie, right?
Or in this case, it was a TV show, wasn't it?
No, it was a Broadway play.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about Selena the series. My bad.
Oh, you can't open it up?
No, it's because I
Yeah,
read
I
too
got
many
the same
LA
thing.
Times articles. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I got it.
Maybe if we open, I can try opening.
I didn't do it.
Another...
Someone else needs to try it.
Maybe I can open it in a completely
Collaborate or Vigilante. You want to hit that
give
link?
it a shot here.
Window here.
So, what do we need me to find? Go to Twitter
to see if you can open up the LA Times.
I got it.
Yeah, Vidge. And so it trended, and I see everyone across, the Latinx world bitching and complaining and clutching their pearls. I'm like, what do you think's gonna happen when you're playing that role?
Next Experience Chronicle. That's exactly what it said.
Yeah. When you're playing that role, right? And you're saying you're exhausted, well, what the fuck do you think's gonna happen?
Yeah.
That's what happens when you are a souvenir, right? And they're gonna spit you out the moment you ain't making them any more money in a heartbeat.
Yep.
So I don't blame the writers. I don't blame the actors. I blame the showrunners, and of course, I blame Netflix. I blame those people. Hollywood. So I'm pretty upset about this, but I'm not surprised, Tom. I'm not surprised.
I mean, I am, but I'm not.
Right.
The part I'm not surprised about is the way they're being treated. The part I'm surprised about is the fact that they're not being paid.
It was a successful show as far as, the only thing that really matters is numbers. So you think even if you didn't pay them at first, you would want to avoid bad publicity like this and say, you know what, here's another check just to maybe do something in the future or whatever, something.
Yeah.
You don't think they would just not take care of so many people who help make them a lot of money?
Well, here's the thing, like you just said, exactly, Vidge. And I know that this story didn't just come out. There had to have been some breakdown. Like, I'm sure the writer said, look, we feel like we're not being paid enough. We're not being treated fairly. What are you going to do? And Netflix is like, go suck a dick. You're lucky to be here.
Well, and the article starts out real great because it focuses on one writer and her aspirations and really wanting to preserve the legend, which is why she stayed on with the job. Because it's like, I wouldn't have taken this job if it wasn't Selena. You know what I mean? So what also I'm not too happy about, who else signed off on this is her family. They're executive producers. Now, I could tell you some other stories about our Latinx, celebrities and heroes from the past 20 years and the lawsuits that they have from production people, actors that they've hired for their movies, because they don't pay them a fucking dime. They don't pay the royalties. They're non-union. They say, well, if you want to come and film in Puerto Rico, we're going to go shoot this scene in Puerto Rico. But if you can, it's okay. But you have to pay your way.
Oh,
wow.
That's terrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
To not pay someone, then have to them pay their travel expense. They're basically working for free.
Oh, there he is.
As if Netflix was doing them a favor by using their work and using their hard work. I read part of the article that said they only had 20 weeks to do an 18 episode season, and usually that's a 10 episode season.
Insane.
8 to 10 episodes.
They were overworked.
Overworked the hell.
Go on, bro.
But no, it's just that's it. It's just like, it's so sickening, and I'm sick and tired of you should just be happy that we're using all of your hard work for our money. It's like, no, you need the creators, you need the actors, you need the writers, you need those quote unquote little people that you think are so interchangeable. It's sick.
But see, this is 2021, right?
Yeah.
Where did all your Latinx, your diversity panels, your Writers Guild inclusion, fucking celebrity seminars, which doesn't let in the public? So there's writers and directors who are Latino who can't even get in the fucking union, but are working their asses off out there, right? Those are the real meat and potatoes. Those are the real people. They can't get in there and talk about inclusion because they're not included.
Well, because inclusion is a myth. It's
Exactly,
a complete myth, and it's a complete.
Well,
It's
in
fake.
that case, you got to pay to be included, right?
Well, and it shows how
Yeah.
good these fuckers have been all this time of really a lot of things they're trying to accuse a lot of us of. The normies, like the general
They're
public.
projecting.
As I keep fucking saying, the only place where all this sexism and racism really truly exists is in three main areas: Hollywood, Washington, D.C., and corporate America. Those are
Yes.
That's absolutely right.
as far as America's concerned. Now, I can't speak for the rest of the world. I'm just saying, as far as we're concerned, because I've had this conversation, I don't know how many times with different individuals of different races, different backgrounds, different sexes, even different sexual preferences. And it's getting to the point where they've all said basically the same thing, is like, our movements have been hijacked.
Absolutely.
They've been hijacked by people that don't understand us.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that because, you hear me sometimes when Paulie's woke. I say, yo, motherfuckers, I'm not woke. I'm awake, like Vigilante says. I've been an old school progressive Chicano for fucking decades, right? But I know how the system works.
Well, and we brought this up how many times? The reason Midnight's Edge Espanol exists is that 50%, almost 50% of the big audience is Latino in America. You have, or like, what is it, 40%, 30%? I think, because it's 40% white, 30% Latino, and then like it's 38. The next step down is 38. Yeah, you're right. And then I think the next one down is like 20-something% black audience, and then the rest is just a hodgepodge of the rest.
I mean, you go from what we went with yesterday, right? Stand and Deliver.
It's a great movie.
Thank you, right?
Yeah.
You can't make that movie nowadays. The only way that they could ever make that movie is how they did it back then. They did it completely independent of Hollywood, right, Tom?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Edward James Olmos himself, bless him, is the main reason that movie existed. His production, he made it, he got behind it, and I'm sure everybody told him it wasn't going to work, but yeah, you're right. If he hadn't gotten behind it, it would have been hijacked by Hollywood. It would have been forgotten, and we even brought up how it would have been done today.
How it would have been done today would be the how they're doing Resident Evil, how they're doing Velma, how they're doing He-Man, how they're doing this and that. That's how they're going to do it.
They would probably gender swap the main character.
Thank you.
Because they don't like men of any race at this point.
No.
Yeah, the Edward James Olmos character would be a gender swap for sure.
So,
Paulie,
man.
Please read Mike's super chat here.
Yeah, Mike Mexican Iron Man for $15. Thank you so much, brother. From a business perspective, I'm totally, completely triggered on this issue. I'm totally livid all day since Paulie broke the news to Netflix. I'll see you for lightsaber duel at daybreak. Vroom. I mean, Netflix, guys, I'm floored, because it's like it's one of the biggest Latin legends, right? Selena, huge. Her music is huge still to this day.
Yeah, she's kind of international. You know what I mean?
Totally. Well, that's the thing. She's not kinda. She is.
Yeah,
they're 21. That little show went #1 in 23 countries in the same week on Netflix.
That's incredible. You think about it.
That doesn't happen.
What they paid for it is incredible.
It upsets me so much. It upsets me so fucking much when I read this, and then I'm like, well, that's old school Hollywood. That's Hollywood letting you know where they stand and what they think of us and how they treat us. And that's what I was saying in my rant earlier, Tom. I like knowing where people stand. Because the Wokosos, they get their brains scrambled, and you don't know where they stand because they're so brainwashed and they're trying to do good, but it's like, no, you're being controlled, dude. You're being controlled by those people that I know where they stand. They want all the power. They don't want to share it. If they did, man, They would have given that showrunner, and God bless him, man. He's a good dude. They would have given that showrunner anything and everything he wanted. The Crown was made for $13 million per episode. The Crown. Great show, right? Selena, less than $2 million.
Wow.
So yeah, man. You know,
and The Crown obviously didn't do as well ratings wise. I'm assuming, since you just told me that Selena was number one in most places, it sounds like.
Well, no, The Crown's a hit, and it's a very acclaimed. You know,
is it as big or is it bigger? What's the deal?
I
don't think it says in the article. I'm looking at it.
I mean, and again, I'm not.
I love The Crown. I love The Crown. It was, and it's got, it's won all kinds of awards. I haven't watched the last couple of seasons, but and I don't know how it rated in other countries.
Okay, I'm just curious, because I mean, it'd be one thing to like compare a show like, that's a smaller show that isn't doing as well, like Star Trek Discovery or something like that. Yeah. Compared to another show, way more budget though. That's doing much better. Like
Saturday Hammerslag, 10 to 15 million per episode to do not anything close to what, as far as ratings go or as far as viewership. Star Trek Discovery is not watched if you combine all the episodes or all the seasons as much as Selena was. It hasn't taken off.
And I mean, I get it. Business is business, and you get what you negotiate in life. But this doesn't change the fact that these are the same people who are, as I said in the front, they're standing on these soapboxes saying, "Look at us, we have all these diverse characters. Oh, please praise us. Oh, please notice us," while they're treating them like shit.
This shows the real insidiousness of that critical theory, because what it is to make every group feel lesser than, and then when they come to negotiate, oh, you should be happy to even be here. You should be happy we're including and representing you with our take on how you should be portrayed. You should be happy to have peanuts. You should be happy to get 1/6 of the budget we would give to a normal show.
They almost thought like, what did you think that just because and I don't know if it's in this article later on where they quote Eddie Olmos or another article, but he's saying to this day, I still got to explain Spanish to them, as far as like, we're not, it's a re-education, like almost every meeting he says. Jeez. And it's just mind-blowing, man. It's mind-blowing, and yet it's not. It's the same fucking song, right? Because that is really the true racism of Hollywood, right? It's not the world that's out there. Yeah. It's not the people, because we all fucking get along. The majority of us get along. We make this country happen. We make the world happen. Right? It's these idiots.
Yeah.
And it's got us to win points out here. And it's true. I kind of didn't even think of it this way. They did gender and race swap Stand and Deliver. See Dangerous Minds. And I want to introduce into the show
sure did.
A man that needs no introduction, but he's going to get one anyway because he's that fucking awesome. The one, the only Mexican Iron Man himself.
Hail.
Hey, how you doing, Mike?
Iron Man.
Hey, buddies. How you guys doing?
Hey, man.
I'm here for the free diversity nachos. Is this where?
Do you want them with or without jalapenos?
Well, I want them with a freaking pay cut, I guess. I don't know.
He's
I've got an interesting story to tell real quick. I'm following up on Paulie. Paulie, he made the comment that when he goes to pitch, excuse me for coughing, a Latino script, the first reaction he gets is that, okay, so that's going to be in Spanish then? That was that comment in the article that he made, that he has to constantly explain that.
Yeah.
Edward James Olmos has to. Edward James Olmos has to.
Yes, Edward James Olmos. Right. Mr. Olmos, just because he says it's a Latin movie, all of a sudden the reaction is, oh, so that must mean it's going to be for the Spanish or Mexico market?
No. If Edward James Olmos, shouldn't he have enough clout in Hollywood that you kind of just do what he says anyway? Shouldn't he?
You would fucking think, but this is where it shows that line of divide.
I mean, I want to say so say we all, but I think Paulie knows that that's not true. Look, I got a story to
no,
tell you.
No, it's not. And they not
I've currently
this
got
generation. This. Go ahead.
I was going to say I had a bad experience in Hollywood. So I have had offices in Northern California and Southern California, now in South Carolina. Now that I've moved, right? But I had one in Santa Monica Boulevard at the corner of 6th and Santa Monica for a long time. And I didn't mean it to turn out this way, but as basically it became about restaurants, bars, nightclubs, and very quickly entertainment industry and production accounting. And every time I went to go and get it's all by referral, right? So it's by referral, right? You do one small one, then you get another one, and this and that. That's just how the business works. I never got paid the same rates as my, shall we say, the predecessor. Let's say the bigger, and I'm just going to say it, the bigger Jewish or white firm that I replaced. Like they wanted me because I was better, I was more responsive, I had better tax plans, I had better strategy, I had better response times. I would take someone, I would assign someone to be on site location to grab the accounting and real time data, time to process their stuff, because they're with these productions, everything's so time sensitive. But you know what? I never got the same rates. I never could get the same rates. So even if I did a good job on one and it was a repeat, I never got the same rates. And look, I'm not here to say this because I was Mexican. It sure wasn't because I was new, because I've been doing this at the time. I'd been doing this shit for like 10, 12 years. But I had to pull out of Hollywood because I could not make the same amount of money that my competitors were getting. And frankly, one of the firms I was replacing were my size, smaller, and I'm talking when I had 72 people before COVID. I mean, this is a few years ago. I had 72 people on staff at one time before all this went down. And, I had to lay off all 16 people. I just shut the whole office down because I just could not make a buck because, it would blow me away because doing business in Hollywood, Paul, you understand this, pre-COVID, you got to go to the receptions, you got to go to the events. These things cost money, man. You got to valet the car, you got to pay parking, you got to schmooze and do's and all this other crap, right? Even if you're in the in crowd. And it's exhausting and it's but yet their meals and entertainment budget, there's no problem, right? But when it comes to the hired work, literally, I pulled out. I will never, ever, 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 even though it's one of my areas of expertise, I will never take on any client. Well, okay, hold on. Besides the YouTube channels that I do the tax and accounting for, and besides Polly and Tom and Andre, I'm just going to say this. I will do entertainment industry, but I will stay the flying frack away from the fucking assholes, cheap fucks over in Hollywood. I got treated the way this article is saying. And the reason I got triggered, Paulie, you and I didn't have a chance to talk about this, is because this shit was happening to me on the tax accounting production side, because I was doing pre-production accounting, like kind of pre-distribution stuff for films, or post-production stuff, before they hit distribution and release. Man, I got treated like this, exactly like this article, and I lost it today when you released this, and I would think things would have changed by now, especially in the post woke era where diversity and inclusion is embraced. I don't know.
I think it's embraced for the same. I think I can't speak if I'm gonna just say it. I think the reason they embrace diversity and inclusion so they could do what they did to you and pay people less. And they feel like it's okay to pay people less, because if we've seen time and time again, a lot of their woke ideology really views whatever group they're proclaiming to champion. It really views them lesser than in some way, form, or fashion. So that's why I think there's we'll be diverse. And Hollywood's always trying to rip people off in every way, shape, form, or fashion. The entertainment industry is trying to rip off the people who make it great. And it's always been that way, and it always will be the way. And unfortunately, we have the only way there's going to be a future for good IP or people being compensated is an independent movement, because Hollywood is evil.
Yep.
And I just want to say, we have another special guest with us here right now, our very good friend, the one, the only, Robert Meyer Burnett. How are you doing, sir?
Dude, you just send me these random links. I never know what I'm jumping into.
Well, welcome back to MEAD. We finally got it up back and running. I dusted it off, and Paulie and Mike have been just on a tear right now over what's going on in Hollywood and how certain people are being treated in Hollywood.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, don't you know that it's? I sent Paulie an article today. about
and might be the very one we're looking at right now, I suppose.
Yes.
no.
Oh, it's a different one.
It was this one was
more.
about In the Heights.
Oh, and I love your shirt, by the way. Yeah, he talked a little bit about that one too. But like, yeah, this is what we're basically kind of getting at here and getting to the bottom of is even though Hollywood loves to sit on this soapbox and virtue signal, they clearly aren't practicing what they preach, and I don't even see any equity, let alone equality here.
No. Look, you know what? It ain't show friends; it's show business.
No, yeah, you're right. And I used your very quote, sir.
It is true.
RB, are you familiar with this issue in this article of how the cast for Selena got paid a lot less and treated a lot differently than some of the other Netflix projects?
Yep, and I would say, welcome to Hollywood. I mean, like I always say, you don't get what you deserve; you get what you negotiate. Oh. And I think that one of the things that I read this article and I thought it was fascinating because all of these things are pre-negotiated. Like before you go to work on a series, you've got your lawyers, your managers, your agents. They pre-negotiate what you're getting. Like before you have a contract that says what you're going to get paid. That's why I found this article sort of interesting in the sense that it's not like you take the job, especially on a show, especially with the writers and the staff. You don't take a job without already having your contract locked in. And I found that kind of interesting because did they find out later that other show runners and writers for other shows got paid more? Because this is absolutely an issue that would have been resolved up front. So they had to have agreed to contracts. Now that doesn't mean what they were getting. The fact that were getting paid less is right. They probably didn't know that they were getting paid less beforehand, and they only found out later. So I mean, it's like, look, all I can say is that whenever you do anything in Hollywood, whenever you make something for a studio, your contract is ironclad before any money is exchanged, other than to the lawyer that you have overseeing your contracts. Mm-hmm. So all of these guys and girls and people that worked on the show, they knew what they were getting before they went into making the show. But still, then you find out that, it's never because people talk, and it's like,
okay,
wait a minute.
I agree with you to a point. Because what had happened is that when they took the production of Mexico, they got away with a lot of shit that you would never get away with here.
Oh yeah, yeah, especially money wise. You probably could make it for half the price, which
they did not agree to, right? And I think that was the what's the word I'm looking for, Robert? That was the
smoking gun.
No, it was like the genesis, the impetus.
Well, yeah, I mean,
for this writer to, I think that was the final straw, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, you have to know these are things that if they changed it up, because here's the thing: wherever you're shooting, that has a big in terms of the money on the show and how much is being spent. Where you are shooting is a big deal. Because you can make a show for half of what it would cost to make in the United States, which means they pay people less, and all of that should have been beforehand. I mean,
you're right, Robert. You're totally right, and that's where in this case, and I said it earlier, the Selena family, they're the executive producers. They signed off on this as well,
right? Yeah.
Don't forget to smash that.
I have a question / point, Robert. And by that way, Vigilante Wins here. This is my first time streaming with you. Nice to meet you. I feel honored.
Well, it's nice to meet all you guys. Vigilante, I watched this video about Loki today.
Mm-hmm. I think you're getting Valiant.
Oh, you mean the other Vigilante?
Are you thinking of Valiant?
Valiant.
Valiant Renegade?
There he is. We always are going to get mixed up.
These two get mixed up, and
I apologize.
It's
no worries.
I'm sure it could be worse. Like they both could be black.
Could be worse.
Well, it's funny because I can barely see from where I'm standing. I can barely see the name. I just was.
No,
that's all good.
No worries.
I love it.
But okay, here's my thing.
I love your R&B.
And all your names that start with V, they all look alike. Come on.
Yeah, everybody has mixed us up, so it's happened a million times.
It is. It's kind of like an ongoing joke almost.
It is an ongoing joke, and I love it. But in any event, so my question / point is, okay, Hollywood, the entertainment industry has been pretty much like this since its inception. The thing is where does Hollywood get off literally attacking fans based upon you're racist, you're this, you're that, and then goes to a all pretty much a mostly or all Latin casted series, and then hit them with rates which basically say you're lucky to even be here making us money. I get what you're saying about, and you're right. You get what you negotiate. It's not show friends, it's not show business, but they're using this inclusion in their marketing, and they're attacking fans based upon it, and they're not living out to what they say. That's what makes it more infuriating. It's like you're the one who came up with this stuff.
I completely agree with you. I think that, first of all, we have a lot of people in Hollywood, people of color, that are making a lot of money because they're playing the games. Like people I really admire, like Shonda Rhimes. You know, a black woman, is one of the most successful producers in Hollywood, and producing all kinds of shows. She got her Fat Network deal over at Netflix, and ultimately, I think it's really kind of gross, like you pointed out. Everyone's jumped on this inclusion, virtue signaling bandwagon, and they're not living up to that. They're using it as a marketing ploy. They're pointing and they're going, see, look, and I think that's happening across our society, and it's really gross. And I'm a believer in a meritocracy. I think the best people should get the work. And as you know, I've worked in this business. I started, my first job was at Warner Brothers in 1989, and I've worked for all kinds of people. I've worked for people of color. I've worked for women executives, really smart, great people. And they all had one thing in common. They were really smart and really great at their jobs. And in my experience, those are the people that succeed. I've never been witness to, because I've mostly worked in production, as opposed to there's two different Hollywoods. There's the people that actually work in production, it's like a traveling circus. Whenever you work on, and I mean production, I mean day to day. We're filming, we're working 12 hours a day. When you work in production, it's all kinds of people. It's a wacky bunch. If you've ever worked on a production, it's a wacky bunch. And some on these larger tentpole movies, you might be working on a film for 150 days. With a crazy bunch of people, and it's great.
And it's basically like a city worth of people too. That's the other thing.
Yeah, it's nutty, and they're all kinds of people because you have all different walks of life represented. You've got blue collar workers, the grip and electric departments, the camera departments. Then you've got like the hair and makeup people. They're like the psychiatrists because they have to deal with the actors all day. And then of course you've got the producers, the white collar. The suits, they're sort of at the top. It's a very wacky bunch. But then there's all the people on the other side, the managers, the lawyers, the studio executives, the people that don't actually make movies on a daily basis, but they all think they do. And that's a whole different side of Hollywood. And those are the people that are making the deals, and that's when things get it's fashion. People are jumping on this as fashion. Yeah. They're like, okay, we're gonna talk about this because that's what everybody wants to hear. And yet, is that what's really going on? Are you really going to be straight up? And so often they're not. And that's the problem.
Couple things, Robert. And I'm so happy you jumped on. I'm so happy because what we went through yesterday, right?
Pure how amazing was I'm still on a high.
Pure elation, right?
Historical.
Then you send me a story about CNN, but then you also read this story. Did you read what Eddie almost still has to deal with?
Yeah.
When he goes and pitches.
I mean,
what? What is going on, man?
It's funny. I didn't ask him about this, but it's the Ballad of Gregorio Cortez.
Oh my God.
Okay,
Such a great movie.
That's another film that came out in 1981 that he stars in, and he was a producer on it.
Yeah.
And I forgot. I wanted to ask him because I had so much stuff in my head. I'd read so much about his career and everything, and it's like he's been producing. That's why he was able to get. I loved hearing him talk about how in his contracts he had it down that I get to control my character.
Dope.
And if you watch this video, I think it's American Masters of Television or something. He tells a story about the first day he worked on Miami Vice, where the art department had filled his office with all these tchotchkes, books and crap. And he goes, he walks in, he's like, listen, I want all of this gone. He said this to the art department. I want all of this gone. And then Don Johnson as Crockett's gonna walk through a door, and the door's shut. And I guess Don Johnson didn't want to do that. He just wanted to walk right in. And Eddie's like, no. And like Johnson walked off the set and was gone for hours because he was pissed. And then one of the producers comes over and almost is like, that's just the way I want to do it. And so when they shot the scene, they didn't really make eye contact. Like Castillo doesn't make eye contact with Crockett because he's kind of listening and taking it all in. And that made it into his character. And he incorporated that into Castillo, which gave him this stoicism. It's what made the character. And it was all because he stood his ground. And I mean, I fucking love that shit.
Well, I got to grab some of these super chats here. I apologize.
No worries.
The people who have been waiting, and to you guys as well, because I don't want to interrupt the flow of the conversation either way. But Golgo13, a good friend of the channel, says, another stream, another reason to give my money. I appreciate you all, friends. It is amazing. My entertainers are people I have talked to. Amazing. That's right. We've talked to Brandon on the member stream over on Midnight's Edge.
Yep.
Awesome dude.
Help brother Brandon.
That's right. Cash Kester says diversity and inclusion is code for segregation and control. Yes.
That's what it looks like.
Yes. Very, very astute. And that's kind of what we've been saying. And then I also got a special donation on PayPal from Diego. Diego wrote in and says, this reminds me of what Mr. Almost talked about, the treatment of the Latino community, which is what you guys were just talking about. This tokenization has just proved that it was all for points and not helping community and unify.
Do you have any more, Tom, or?
No, that was it from then. We got one more from the only Valiant Renegade, but I guess he can just read it himself since he's here.
Hey!
Oh, hell, Valiant Renegade.
Valiant.
Hell, Vigilante wins. How you doing?
Okay, now
here we go.
This is who
Valiant.
I watched Valiant's video today on Loki.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, I appreciate it.
Read your super chat, Valiant.
My own super chat. Valiant Renegade.
So I can disagree with it.
Huge fan of Midnight's Edge and Midnight's Edge After Dark. Vigilante Williams, not to be confused with the 40-something-year-old white guy with a similar handle in his sour hat, because Vigilante Williamson is a better YouTuber than.
Oh my God.
That's absolutely true.
Statistically not true.
I'm getting my head in shame now.
And the men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. You have more subs and you have a higher rate of videos with more views. So that's categorically statistically not true. But I appreciate the praise nonetheless, Valiant Renegade.
But I'm so glad to have some good-looking men on camera, so I don't have to be. What were you going to say, Paulie?
I just want to jump back into the conversation. Slithering Peanut says the 945 stamp mark. If he, referring to Eddie Almost, doesn't want to have his movies labeled as Spanish, stop pitching them as Latino. Just make the movie.
Isn't that part of the problem, though? I mean,
I mean, every movie has to. You are directing it toward an audience, whether it's the teen audience, whether it's a 4-quadrant movie. So if you have because look, the Latino audience, they show up on Friday nights.
Well, we were just talking about that. Yep.
If you make if you make a movie,
second largest audience in America, that's why Espanol exists.
But not only that, the Latino audience will go out of the house they'll go out and have a good time. They'll go see your movie as opposed to sit at home and go, nah.
And they'll take the whole family.
Well, I was just going to say, though, my gathering of how you told it, correct me if I'm wrong, Paulie, please, was that he doesn't really say that it's necessarily a Latin story. It's just they just assume it is right away. And then, or am I getting that wrong? Just because it's coming from him, or that was kind of how I was getting it.
Look, it's coming from him. B, I mean, let's take the Into the Heights one. What are you going to say? I mean, obviously, I hear what you're saying, Slithering Peanut. I hear what you're saying, but Hollywood doesn't work that way. And first thing they want to know is who's in the movie, who's the cast, where's it set, what's going on. I mean, it's kind of like, how do you talk about West Story without you're not going to mention Puerto Ricans? I mean, seriously.
Right. Well, that was a conversation Paulie and I did have. It was like, why else would you want to remake that movie, especially almost shot for shot like Spielberg is, unless you're going to do it more accurate.
The point has to do with the fact that if he walks in and look, the point of the matter is this: is that if he walks in, you got two things going on. If he's white, they're probably not going to ask if it's going to be in Spanish or not.
Right, and that's what I was getting at. Yeah,
yeah, it's exactly what you said, Tom. And you said this earlier. I think I don't know, earlier today or last night. I don't know. We've been on so many streams. I'm losing it, but.
No, it's okay. And this has you rightfully frustrated. So continue. Sorry.
You know what, Mexican Iron Man? When you're a jet all the way from your first cigarette to your last dying day. When you're a jet.
Robert Meyer Burnett, I don't know how many 5-hour, you need to be sponsored by 5-Hour Energy, because when I go to bed, okay, this is my reality on these.
He's the only man I'm not sure who, I'm like, everybody's like,
so I try to stay on my R&B, on my post.
Have you seen how much Robert does, man? Jesus.
Dude, it's
I was about to
I see him in the afternoon. Then he has member-only streams. Then I see him on some other stream. I go to sleep, he's streaming. I wake up at 4 a.m, he's still streaming. Then I say, okay, I'm going to take a nap.
And
I wake
he
up,
fucking
he's on
edited a
Collider
movie and worked on a TV show and how many other secret projects and all this time too.
I've been wondering for months. Robert.
Hashtag
recast Cavill and make R&B the new Superman in the next movie.
Oh man, I'd have to work out a lot.
There's a lot going on here with the dysfunctionality of Hollywood, and its legacy of treating people of color stereotypical fashion, half wages. Well, here's the contract, take it or leave it. Here's the deal, take it or leave it.
Paulie, how do you and Romy handle this? What is the solution?
Hold on. I don't want to bring her into this conversation.
Oh, okay.
Now. I lost my thought. Damn it.
Sorry. There's a lot of things going on in Hollywood, a lot of different angles.
In a world.
I was waiting for someone to say something. I lost my
Paulie lost his train of thought. But only one man can help him find it, and that is the Mexican Iron Man.
No, Mexican Iron Man screwed things up.
So that's why he has to make them right.
I actually do have a thought, and it's just that Hollywood could always just operate more honestly. I know that will never happen. I know it's impossible for it to happen, but it's Hollywood is the one that created the standard. Like Paulie was kind of getting at. He said there is a history of stereotypical portrayals of a lot of different races, and so you set the standard, and then you yell at us for the standard that you set, that you created. You know what I mean? You're the one, Disney. You're the one who put the crows and Dumbo. So why are you yelling at me for being a toxic fan just because I want you to keep Marvel, superheroes right? So if Hollywood just operated with anything resembling good faith to the fans or to the actors or to any other, the staff being involved, anything close to that, this wouldn't even be an issue. But they don't.
Well, Paul, you found your train.
But you don't have to be evil, and this is evil.
Well, look, I think though too that one of the real problems with Hollywood as a business entity is that there's so much money at stake. Like now, a studio movie is usually $100 million or more, and everybody is trying to cover their ass every step of the way, because everyone lives in fear, and they really don't know. And what's really interesting is, as I do look at Kevin Feige, I really admire what he's been able to do at Marvel because he goes with his gut. He's one of the only people in Hollywood that has blazed his own trail and done it the way he wants to do it. And it's worked for him because he knows. He's not wondering. He's not going, well, I don't know if this is going to work. No one who works in Hollywood knows anything about what they're doing. The people at the studios, the people at the studios, they really don't know because everything is different. Like I'll tell you what they have very little understanding of. Kevin Feige does is fandom. They don't understand why fans obsess over these things the way we do. They really don't. As much as you would think that they would, they certainly do at Marvel, because what they're doing is they're always going back to their comic books for source material. They change things, sure, but like, you think anybody at another studio would have said, yeah, I'm going to do a show and use the Time Variance Authority and the Timekeepers. It's in the comics. We're going to go do that. Nobody at any other studio would have done something so outlandish.
Yeah, that's the irony of it all, is Hollywood likes to tell stories about people who will not bend, break, or compromise, but yet that's all they do.
Well, yeah, and also people just don't know. The people that are making the decisions, they really don't know and they don't understand. So what they do is they go to people that already have some kind of a track record, and they can point to those people and go, see, they've done this, and this, so let's give them $150 million. And they might not base it on whether or not they actually like the material the person's actually made, but they're like, okay, this person's made 5, like J.J. Abrams. I wonder if there's anyone in Hollywood who really loves his filmmaking, but they know that he has produced this many shows, on time and on budget. Like and they know he's directed Star Trek movies. He's done Super 8. He did a Mission Impossible movie, and he made $2 billion for The Force Awakens. So on any spreadsheet, he looks good on paper. And no one sits there and goes, wow, I'm going to hire that. Well, you know what Kevin Feige does? He goes, wow, James Gunn made 2 movies for $3 million each. I like what he did, so I'm going to have him direct Guardians of the Galaxy. That's a $150 million movie. No one in Hollywood at any studio would hire James Gunn to do a movie like that except Kevin Feige, because Kevin knows he can look at someone's film. Doesn't matter how much it costs. He can look at their movies. That's why he hired Chloe Zhao. He hired her because he saw not even Nomadland, because you couldn't have seen it, but when they hired her, they liked another film, and that's what Kevin Feige does. He's like, you have made a movie that might only cost $3 million, but I want your sensibility. We've got the team around you that's going to make sure you don't fall, but I need your sensibility, the sensibility that made Slither and that made Super. I need you for Guardians of the Galaxy, and you wrote Tromeo and Juliet. So I need you to write and direct Guardians of the Galaxy. And I'll make sure all the action scenes and all that stuff's taken care of. There's nobody else in Hollywood that's doing those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Because nobody believes in themselves. They all are too worried that they're going to fail.
And they do.
Because of that, they do, because they don't really know what works.
Well, Robert, go ahead.
Oh, so go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think you're right. There isn't enough risk takers. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, yeah, the thing is, it's not the people like Kevin Feige. On the outside, people look at him and go, wow, that was a risk. In Kevin Feige's mind, it wasn't.
No, I know. I mean, James Gunn is like the risk taker, not Kevin. But yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
But Kevin, as a studio, do you think Warner Brothers would ever hire somebody who made a $3 million movie without juice? Like Colin Trevorrow made Safety Not Guaranteed, which was like $1 million movie. And Spielberg's like, I love this movie. Let's have him do Jurassic World.
Which surprises the hell out of me. I'm surprised he didn't try to push JJ, but you're right. Yeah.
I mean, and that's because people can recognize, like Kevin Feige worked his way up. He worked on 13 Marvel movies before the MCU, and he saw what works and what doesn't, and he knows. So that's what Hollywood needs more of. The problem is, a lot of the people that come right out of their Ivy League educated business people, they've never been on a set before. They've never produced movies, and yet they start out being creative executives at studios or working. And what do they know about film, really? But on a spreadsheet, it's like, this person has a master's degree in finance from Harvard. Let's hire him.
Your wrench, Purple Valkyrie, has a show, and she just had Cameron on Wednesday for a pre-taped interview. Cameron said the exact same thing that you just said, and he talked about many of his experience where he's walking in and there's a 22 to 28-year-old who's allegedly going to be his boss, and has never even been on the set and green lighting or not green lighting projects and so forth and so on. And he talked at length about what you just said. I mean, I find this shocking.
I'll tell you, like I went into, I've told this story before, but I went into a pitch meeting at Sam Raimi's company, Ghost House. Good company. And I was there and I'm sitting around this table and we're having this meeting. And in the middle of the table was a book by a guy named Dan Simmons. And I've read all of Dan Simmons' books. And it was his first novel, Song of Kali. And after the meeting's over, I asked this executive, I said, are you guys going to make Song of Kali? And the guy looks at me and goes, oh, Dan Simmons, what a great writer. We love Dan Simmons. He's fantastic. I've never actually read anything he's written, but he's fantastic. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I can wax rhapsodic about everything. Dan Simmons. For those of you who don't know, if you ever watched the TV show The Terror that was on a couple years back about the ship that was locked in the ice, that was based on a Dan Simmons novel of the same name. But I go to meetings like this and I talk to people and I'm like, you don't know. And then here's the crazy thing. I get judged because, I've never produced $100 million movie. And yet, if I had to make a movie by myself, like if I had to direct it, produce it, write it, edit it, post-supervise it, visual effects, I could. Now, I've never done things at that large of a scale, but I know the process of how to do things at a small scale, like James Gunn, when he directs Super or Slither, you just apply it to a larger scale, and you have to understand how to delegate responsibility and all that. But then you're still dealing with people that have never actually made movies.
Right.
Go
ahead, Vig. I was just going to grab some of these super chats, but you can go first.
Okay, I just had one point because you had mentioned earlier that they don't understand the fans. And I think one issue on top of just, not understanding why fans are fans is they take for granted that fans are fans. They take for granted that anyone shows up to any movie ever. They don't realize they do have to. They should be orienting things to create things that people like and sell and try to market that. That it gets no simpler than that, but they get caught up in all this stuff. Well, this is a trend. When vampires was a trend, everyone has to have a vampire movie. When superheroes become a trend, everyone has to have a superhero movies. Now we cannot get an original property, even though they change so much about these properties. They might as well be original.
No, you're absolutely right. And no one ever made real money in Hollywood following a trend.
No,
you make money in Hollywood setting trends. And the problem is nowadays everybody because things are much more expensive than they used to be. Everybody wants something that they can point to and go, well, this was a book already, so it's already good. Somebody already deemed it being good, so we can develop that. And it's funny to me because if you look at all the where are new franchises going to be? What are they going to remake in 20 years?
They won't have anything.
I mean, it's amazing to me. We got, like, you think about John Wick. John Wick set a trend. That was a movie that was made for not a lot of money. The people that were making it knew exactly what they were making. And really, really great thing. And now it's a franchise. Now they're making John Wick 4 and 5. And you think about these things, and then look, Fast 9 to me is the people making the franchise actually bought in to what the media and everybody's been saying about the franchise, which is like, let's make it's all ridiculous.
Crazy,
and they're like, well, let's embrace that ridiculousness. And as a franchise fan, I can tell you, I hated Fast 9. And I love the Fast and Furious franchise.
What?
I hated Fast 9.
What?
I hate it.
R&B, I know how much you love Fast and Furious. I've listened to you for hours and hours over the last year.
He hated it. He gave us a pretty big breakdown the other day before the show.
Hated it. What was interesting to me is, the thing about the Fast and Furious franchise, I think Fast 5 is the best of that franchise. But they completely embraced the ridiculousness of it. It makes not a lick of sense, and it has no bearing in any kind of reality at all. And now people just laugh, and people are like, well, it's never had any bearing in reality. I'm like, but it did. It did. I mean, even Fast 5, the one ask they had in that movie is, can two cars pull a bank vault? They could never pull that vault. You just couldn't do it. But it's okay, because in the movie, you buy into it. But in Fast 9, nothing, not one action sequence, this big action sequence that happens there's a flashback at the beginning, but this action sequence that happens in the jungles was so over the top and unbelievable. It was a fucking Roadrunner cartoon, and I was like sitting there going, "Wow, I'm out. I can't buy into this," because you have, even when you're watching a B movie, you can suspend when you watch Commando with Arnold Schwarzenegger and he's throwing table saw blades at dudes and shit like that, you still buy into it. But Fast 9, there's nothing you can buy into. It's over the top, ridiculous action that has no bearing in any kind of reality, and you know that no one's going to get hurt, so there's no stakes. There's no stakes. You just watch all this stuff happening. It's like it's a cacophony of noise, and it's all inconsequential.
Yeah, and it's funny because you're right. Like things have reversed in the last 40 years. Because need I remind you guys that the 9th movie of the Friday the 13th franchise was Jason Goes to Hell. Like that's the only kind of franchises that would normally get to the 9th movie in a franchise back in the day, because it used to be completely reversed. Like it used to be that 5-10% of movies that you would have come out were sequels and reboots and remakes and all that kind of stuff. The other 90%, 95% was original stuff that would spawn some new franchise, but we weren't getting tons and tons of movies. Not everybody was George Lucas. George Lucas went into these things thinking, I can make 5 of these. Like that was kind of his thing. Like he knew he could make a bunch of these, and that was kind of his plan. But like not everybody was Lucas, and Spielberg's are great examples, because he's like, as soon as they said Jaws 2, he's like, fuck that noise. And it's like he got the hell out of there. He's like, I ain't gonna be any part of that. It used to be sequels and remakes were like an embarrassment. They made them because they knew they'd make at least a quarter, if not half, the money the original movie would. That's the only reason they did them. Paramount was so embarrassed by the Friday the 13th franchise, they sold it by the 9th. The 9th movie was made by New Line because they're like, we can't do this anymore.
Tom, when you're done with the super chats, I wanted to get back on a couple points that everyone has brought up.
In Valiant, I think you were about to say something too.
I was going to make one quick point and let you get to super chats. Sure. Your comments always remind me of I think one of the best movie lines of the 80s in that regard about sequels. Spaceballs 2, the search for more money.
God willing.
That's what it always was. So go ahead.
Merchandising, where the real money's made.
Spaceballs, the flamethrower. The kids love this.
Yeah. 32 flavors of comment. Oh, sure. Go ahead, Veg.
It's just that in 1984, there were more original franchises created in the past 20 years.
Yes, there was. 1984 is a hell of a year. R&B always talks about 82, but I always remind him 84 is one that people overlook quite a bit. 32 Flavors of Nick Weiser says Hollywood can be too concerned. Hollywood is too concerned to please everyone. There is a time and a place for hybrids, but that shouldn't apply to as a one size fits all. Everything doesn't need to be for everyone. Exactly. That's the way Hollywood used to be. They would, your hopes would be like you have a specific kind of audience you think would like this movie, but it'd be great if everybody would, like that's kind of the key, I don't know if anybody else wants to add to that, but yeah. Otherwise, let's move on then. 70s Rock Fan, how you doing, buddy? Says more independent movies made by talented people and less Hollywood gatekeeping would be nice. Less control over the funding and distribution channels so independents can get to market and be seen. Well, here's the thing is that there's a gate up. We're due. We're way past due for the next revolution. Every generation, basically, you get that new influx of independent, fresh faces, and we haven't gotten it this time around. There's been a wall put up, and they're not allowing a lot of it in, it seems like. And it's either the same old business or people that just don't happen to have the wherewithal to get past that first few steps, and they get booted out of the system. And that's where this, a lot of this is leading. Troy Pacelli, then go ahead.
I do have a comment. Just a question about the funding. How come we can't get lower budget movies? You mentioned John Wick. The Joker was done for a lower budget. I think that would save a lot of jobs, because I do get you have $150 million movies, you want to play it safe, but if you can do something for 50 or so, even Mortal Kombat was a lower budget movie. Why isn't Hollywood trying to get done smaller budget films?
Well,
I think. Oh, go ahead, Robert. You probably.
Well, they used to, but the thing is now. Why make smaller budget movies when you can make $150 million movie that makes $1 billion? And the thinking is that, okay, if we make you make a $40 or $50 million movie, remake? Well, hey. I mean, but that's obviously that's problematic, because why was Alex Kurtzman hired to direct that film? Alex Kurtzman, who had never really directed, he's directing a Tom Cruise movie
because he was one of JJ's boys,
right? And that was look what it did.
Yeah,
look what it did. I mean, you. That is not a person that I would want to take a chance on with that kind of a film.
Not to change the subject real quick, Robert. Did you see that Clarice got sent to Paramount Plus?
Well, yeah, yeah, no, I mean, look, the Star Trek hostage crisis has been going on since 2007, or actually 2006.
Star Trek hostage crisis.
Yeah, the Star Trek hostage crisis, where good Star Trek has been held up by whatever we're getting, and I since the J.J. Abrams and the Bad Robot and Secret Hideout took over, and they're just cranking out Star Trek. And I mean, why wouldn't you? If you're going to get paid for it, you're going to get, and without any thought of quality or like I don't know what they're making now. I have no idea what they're doing.
Well, I can tell you this. I know I've talked to a few people in the recent months that are outside of Star Trek, but know people within Paramount or know the structure within Paramount, and I can tell you it's a fucking clusterfuck. They don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Right.
They don't know how to treat these franchises. They are completely oblivious. So there's a point where I wouldn't be surprised if they do extend Kurtzman and fucking Secret Robots.
Oh, well, you know, I mean, yeah, you've got Discovery season 4, you've got Strange New Worlds, you've got Picard season 2, you've got Lower Decks. All of these things are in production.
Well, that's just it. Yeah.
And they're incredibly expensive shows. Star Trek Discovery is one of the most expensive television shows ever made.
And I would have thought that they would have wisened up, but after I talked to a few people, I'm like, I don't think they're going to. And Ninja Turtles is a prime example. They got motherfucking Seth Rogen working on the Ninja Turtles. What the fuck?
Well, Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg brought us The Boys.
I'll give them that, but I'm
Preacher. I mean, no, but yeah.
Well, Preacher's got its own issues.
Yeah, but again, it's like they get people that have a proven track record making stuff.
I would almost rather have Zack Snyder working on Ninja Turtles, to be honest with you.
And I'll tell you something. They're also another problem with the idea of diversity hire as well is they will hire people based on those criteria and people are not qualified to be doing what they're doing at the level they're being hired to do it at, and then they wind up in trouble in production. And they have to bring other people in to help to fix things. And that's not good either. You know, you need to hire people like you have to get filmmakers like I have mad respect for Ryan Coogler. He makes Fruitvale Station, you know, and great indie film Creed. That gets a lot of, but then he went after Creed.
Yeah.
You know, it was his idea because he loved the Rocky franchise, him and his father, the way I understand it. His mother had cancer, and then his father and him were bonding during this time, watching the Rocky movies together. And, you know, he came up with Creed and went to Stallone. I mean, what balls. Right. And he got that gig because he was talented and came up with a good story and was able to convince Sylvester Stallone. And he's working in a franchise property. You know, I mean, the Creed was the seventh Rocky sequel?
Yep.
And he did something that reinvented an.
And here we are. We're on another one that's on 9.
yeah, another. And yet, I mean, that was all because somebody was a professional fan who made it happen. And based on what he did with Creed, he was able to get Black Panther. He didn't get Black Panther just because he was black. He got Black Panther because he was a really talented filmmaker and proved, one, he could make a movie with Fruitvale Station, and two, he could revitalize a franchise. He could work within the franchise with the franchise owner.
I agree. That probably got him the job more than anything.
I mean, that was. I mean, if I were Kevin Feige, I'm like, I'm hiring that guy because he proved himself because of his talent.
Yeah, he can work within a franchise, and that's what Kevin Feige's looking for.
And he's just a world-class filmmaker. I mean, Fruitvale Station's an incredibly powerful.
I haven't seen that, but I've seen Creed and I've seen a couple of the other stuff. But yeah, like, but I want to get because Paulie had a few questions he wanted to get to. Or a few statements he wanted to get to anyway. Troy Pacelli says they don't need to know why fans obsess about franchises. They need to understand that we do and act accordingly or keep losing money. Yeah, I say similar things as I think we all do on the panel here. It's like you don't necessarily have to, and, you know, we bring up, you know, Nicholas Meyer didn't understand Star Trek, but he came in and gave us the best Star Trek movie ever because it was somebody who was just a talent. And you can get talented people who may not necessarily be fans, but is like, oh, okay, yeah, I get this, and they can work on it. That's why I've been bitching about Kevin Smith. I don't give a shit so much that he's not a fan, and it's the fact that he lied about it. Because he could have come in and said, yeah, no, I'm not really a He-Man fan. I was a little too old when it came out, but I understand Sword and Sorcery a bit. I'm a big Conan and comic book fan. I thought I could bring something interesting to the table. That's all he had to say. He didn't have to lie to my face about it, you know? And I think that's the biggest point, too, is, yeah, I just don't understand. We need more cocaine and fucking capitalism in Hollywood is like what I keep saying, because like Yogurt kept saying, merchandising. You want us to buy it. You want us to love it. You know, that's what Star Wars is built on. But I'm going to grab this one, and then I'll get to the rest of the super chat soon, because I know, Paul, you've been waiting patiently here, buddy. Golgo13 says, 1984 was a really good year. The 80s were it. As a child from 80, I remember seeing most of it, not all of the fun stuff before the end of 1990. If not all the fun stuff, sorry. Yeah, me too, man. Same age and everything. I totally know where you're coming from. But so, Paulie, back on this topic here at hand. Sorry, we went on such a venture there.
No, man. No,
you had some statements you specifically wanted to get into.
It's great at everything that what everyone's brought up is fantastic, and what the chat has been rocking around. It's fantastic. Robert, you sent me that article, right?
Yeah. That was about In the Heights.
It was about In the Heights, but it featured all these Latinos or Latinxes,
yes,
who have deals.
Yes,
and everyone in Hollywood has a fucking deal. Doesn't mean shit. It's great, but all of them stated that the stereotypes of the gangbangers and the drug dealers, they're tired of. Here's the problem. Right? You had said something also about trends. Okay? We're not a trend. We're a movie-going audience. And as a movie-going audience, we love shit that blows up.
Mm-hmm.
We love the hero. We want them to save the day. We want Schwarzenegger. We want Conan. We want, the badass drug cartel movies. That's why they're successful. The problem is Hollywood has given all these, and I'm sure they're talented. I'm sure they're talented, but they have had their deals, and the TV shows that they've put up, they're either all canceled or no one sees them because they're super narrow niche. And that's another way. That's me being politically nice about it. Who is watching these shows? Right? So again, Hollywood doesn't know what the fuck it's doing. So then it'll see the foreign aspect. Inarritu, Cuarón. Let me get these guys speak Spanish. These guys are Mexican. Let me get these guys, or Latino. Let me get these guys. They get the big budgets, the big movies. They win all the awards.
They're also world-class filmmakers.
They don't hire a single Latino actor in front of that camera screen unless it's in Spanish. Unless they go back to their home country and do it. So it's a predicament, man. This is a predicament, and this example of these writers and actors. Let's just be clear: these writers and actors not getting paid, in whether it's their fault or not. That Netflix, the biggest streaming platform, treats. This is how they treat their Latino. What's the word I'm looking for?
Talent.
Their Latino product, or whatever you want to call it. That's what they think. So it's a big predicament. Go on, Robert. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I mean, I think there's a couple of things that you touched on. Actually, a lot of things you touched on. First and foremost is that Hollywood is a business, and they're trying to give the largest possible audience what the largest possible audience wants, and that's really it. And so they're trying to, when you come up, like you said, explosions, the world, we're now making movies for the globe. We're no longer making movies just for the American or the North American audiences. So you need movies, and it's not like trying to appeal to China. Like, for instance, comedies do not sell well around the world because people think different things are funny in different countries. So that's why a lot of comedies aren't getting made the way they used to, because they don't sell globally. So that's why studios don't make nearly as many comedies as they used to. And so that's problematic. That's why you get a lot of action, a lot of fantasy, science fiction, these big bombastic films, because they sell well around the world. Mm-hmm. And look what happened in Nomadland. Nomadland it's made by a Chinese director, and now because of things that she said about China, it might not get released there. No one will see it there. It's just so nuts that and so I think a lot of the time, like, for instance, there's movies actually Lou Diamond Phillips brought up Minari, the movie that was up for an Academy Award for Best Picture, which is about a Korean family, as an example of that. This is the kind of representation that we need. And like when I was growing up, a Latino movie that I really loved was Gregory Nava's El Norte, and that movie had a huge impression on me when I saw it, about immigrants trying to come to America, and it's more relevant now than ever. And it was made in the 80s, and but I don't know if that was an independent film, but I don't know if a studio would make that story now. They would much rather tell a story about Rambo going to kill Mexican drug cartels, and that's because that's what people understand globally. And what's interesting is, to me, everybody wants to see stories that are about their own experience, that mirror their experience of life. And I think watching Stand and Deliver, one of the things that struck me about watching the film again is it could have delved into, say, gang member stereotypes. The Angel character was obviously part of some kind of a gang, but it never really went that direction. It started out seeming like, oh, there's going to be the gang is going to come into conflict with Jaime Escalante, but it didn't go that way. And
it didn't go Dangerous Minds.
No, right? It didn't go Dangerous Minds. And what was really, I love that about, because the thing is, even gang members, not all gang members are strapped with gats and are willing to open fire on innocent people. I mean, sometimes, you're in a neighborhood and you're in a gang because you're protecting you and your friends, but that doesn't mean you're like slinging drugs on a street corner and shooting up the neighborhood next to you. And we don't even understand that like, not all neighborhoods are these bullet-ridden war zones all the time. I mean, sometimes
it's not like RoboCop.
So I get it. I get what you're talking about. The problem is that the Latinx gatekeepers in Hollywood, they're keeping out Latino filmmakers.
Yeah.
Who have made their 7, their 2, their 3 independent films, action films, and have made a success, independently, and have gotten distribution. They don't want those people in Hollywood, bro.
No, and
that is the real truth. They don't want them directing. They don't want them writing. You're toxic. Your shit is stereotypical. I don't want to see that anymore. You're gonna. These are the stories, Hollywood, that are the Latinx experience, because I'm telling you.
I'm telling
Sorry,
you,
bro.
No, like one of my favorite. There's a guy named Jose Padilla. He's a Brazilian filmmaker, and he made 2 elite squad movies. Mm-hmm. These are police movies in Brazil and deal with drug cartels. They're fucking great. They're great. So they bring him to America. What do they make him? What do they have him make? The RoboCop remake. Mm-hmm. They don't let him, like, okay, man, you're bringing the experience of what it's like in Brazil to America. Yeah. What would you like to do?
Yeah.
We love your movies. The Elite Squad movies are knockouts. Why don't you? Is there something that is part of your experience, or something that you would like to They don't ask him that. They're like, well, we're going to give you our RoboCop remake. Like, what the hell, man? You've got a guy who's made two. If they were made in America, they would be huge. It would be a huge franchise. And this guy made those movies, and they're incredible. They're knockouts. They bring him to America, and they ask him to remake a Dutch director's movie. Like,
yeah.
Well, I'm like,
well, that's the strength of that director.
And
that's the strength of the director. But
but he must have a story that he wants to tell. About something going on in Brazil.
He does, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he. Which is, you brought up a great point. And in that article, right, where almost quotes say, we got to be like the black filmmakers. We got to have our own Tyler Perry. Until we don't. Well, Eddie, all due respect, who the fuck do you think Robert Rodriguez is?
and Edward James Olmos. I mean,
well, no, but the Tyler Perry has existed for a while now, and his name is Robert Rodriguez.
Before Tyler Perry, yeah.
Oh yeah.
And just because he does stuff on the cheap, and you get what you see is what you get. Where's his recognition in all this?
Oh man, I don't know. By the way, I have mad respect for Tyler Perry.
Oh yeah,
Tyler Perry did it his own way, and he is one of the most successful. He's still under the radar, but he might very well be one of the most successful self-made producer, director, impresarios in Hollywood history.
Yeah, I mean he's
the man.
Aren't my thing, but I cannot take away from him what he did.
Oh,
and I was even like, oh, good casting when they cast him as Baxter Stockman until I saw fucking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2. But, that's neither here nor there. But no, you're right. Like, he's got his own studio set up. People come in there. They have their own like places they live. They stayed there during the whole pandemic, so he was able to put out a couple of projects. And I mean, he's got it.
No, he's the man.
Figured out.
Tyler Perry is the man, and he sets the tone. And he, again, the character of Medea, he took that on the road. He was doing plays, and he found his own black audience, by taking the Medea character and putting up plays and going through the South, developing his audience, then made the transition to movies, and could call his own shots. And his movies made tons of money. And I think that's what's going to have to happen is like Latino film. Somebody is going to have to be like the Latino Tyler Perry and go after the Latino audience fiercely. And I mean, I don't know how to do that. I wouldn't know how to do that.
We need a nerd Tyler Perry too. We need 1,000 Tyler Perrys. We need 1,000 people with that type of mindset. As a black man, my Stephen A. Smith impersonation, I don't like any of Tyler Perry's movies. I've only seen like one and I didn't like it. But the ability for him to create a market, really create one, because it really wasn't there beforehand.
Yep, he did. He created one.
Create a market and satisfy that at the rate that he did, give a lot of people, as far as actors and actresses, their start. There's not really been too many things quite like what Tyler Perry did. And the only way for pop culture to get any better is if more people at least have that business mindset. Whatever you think about the movies, again, I am not a fan of the movies, but just that a lot of this has to do with business mindset and the idea of being independent, wanting to be independent, wanting to be outside the Hollywood bubble instead of wanting to be accepted by the Hollywood bubble. And you do need people who say, you know what, I want to be in Hollywood long enough to get my vision out there and create what I'm trying to do. And I think that's how you get that next wave. And otherwise you won't.
Couldn't agree with you more. I mean, what's happening now is that Hollywood, the studios, I think they're floundering because they don't know what to do. They've basically the streamers like a Netflix, they make so much money now that talent's going directly to Netflix. They're getting production deals, and then they go off and make their material.
They're going right to Netflix and not getting paid.
Well, but the thing is, a lot of people are,
No, you're right, man. You're right.
And what you're going to have happen is, I'm telling you, there is going to be a lot of Latino and all kinds of people of color who are going to start making, because the distribution, you can now make a movie and distribute it worldwide yourself if you wanted to. Now, the tough part is, how do you raise money for movies and pay your financiers back? You still need those distribution methods, and it's really hard. Even the independent route, it's hard to get your money back. Like we're in negotiations right now with Tango Shalom, and it's been very interesting. I just before I jumped on your stream, I was reading this offer, this very deep, complex offer that they made us for the film, and there's a lot of questions that you have, but the real question is, well, how do we pay back our investors? Now we're getting this whole layer of a middleman, and I'm thinking maybe we could self-distribute and make our money back. There's no guarantee that we could, but it's an option.
Diego, go ahead, finish. I thought you were done. My bad.
No, I was just going to say that there any filmmakers now. Robert Rodriguez is the kind of guy where he went and made El Mariachi, and knocked people out. He made that movie for very little money, and he followed it up with Desperado, which was a film I believe he made it. I don't know if it was Columbia and it turned into Sony yet, but he was able to parlay that success and make that film, and he used the money he was making and built his own infrastructure, and he has his not Bad Robot, but
Troublemaker Studios.
Troublemaker Studios.
Yeah.
He has Troublemaker Studios. And like Peter Jackson built his own infrastructure. And when he was making movies, he's basically making movies at his own facility. They have to rent his equipment to make movies. It's genius.
Which is back to the point which Paulie was saying, is that there already is a Tyler Perry, and that is Rodriguez.
Again, and for this is just the news of today, and like normally and that's what I did. I did my own rant on it on my channel, because this is like there was like a trifecta of news coming out of Hollywood, and from In the Heights to this bullshit to an animated series that it was announced, Robert, on Netflix, Maya and the Three, which is by Gutierrez, who did a Book of Love, the Book of Life.
Book of Life. Yeah.
Which is incredible, right? Yeah. And they showed two what do you call panels? Oh my God, the animation looks amazing. And they explained what it was, and he was talking, he's quoting the Gutierrez is the creator talking about it. It's like, that's how you do it. You draw from pre-existing myth within your own ancient culture, which is Maya, Incan, right? You don't have to go and hijack anyone else's. We don't need to do Lord of the Rings. We got our own, right?
Yeah.
Right. And then you kind of make it modern, so it's accessible for everyone. And you shoot it as one long movie, and then he's breaking up to 30 minutes. I mean, I'm really excited about that. I wish we did, I wish we had more of that and less of the race swapping. And I get why Hollywood is so like bloodthirsty to do that stuff, because it's trying to please itself and relieve itself of its own guilt and shame for having been so racist for so many decades. But that's not the way to do it. The way to do it is to create these new shows about real mythologies. You don't need to go and hijack Lord of the Rings or Velma or He-Man, whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and Diego sent in another PayPal donation. Thank you so much, Diego. Says, I feel Hollywood gatekeeping is to prevent those storytellers to enter, because if they did, those movies would break the narrative and ruin everything for them because of how corrupt they are. It's kind of funny you say that, Diego, because that kind of goes along with what I said about good old Leslie Headland, if y'all remember her. When she came in and she's like, I want a black writer and I want this, and it's like, okay, lady, that's great. I can tell you right now, I know at least a half a dozen black writers who have stories from the black perspective that they would love to tell that Hollywood doesn't give a shit about. Yet they act like this is what they want to do. Exactly. I've said it a million times. It's like, then put your efforts, if you really want to be an ally, in quotations, if you really want to use your platform, then be an ally and use your platform and get these voices out there that actually want to tell these stories and make the next, Do the Right Thing or Milk or what have you, because those are the kind of movies I feel like they just don't give a shit about anymore. And those are the ones they've always ignored. I mean, we just watched Stand and Deliver the other night, And we went through that thing, and Paulie and I just couldn't believe it, how great the movie just did a great job of representing everything without throwing it in your fucking face.
No, yeah.
And the only scene where the race thing really comes up is in the scene between Andy Garcia and Mr. Olmos. And really, that's more about those two going back and forth, because he's actually supposed to be from the same neighborhood as these kids more so than it is the whole race issue. It's more Edwards, Jaime's characters basically saying, how could you do that to these kids, especially considering where you're from?
Right.
Kind of a thing, more so than it is the other part. But it's true. It's still, that's the only part of it that really exploits that, or I don't even want to use that word because that's not even really the word I'm looking for, but you know what I mean. Shines a light on it, maybe, is a better way of putting it. But yeah, I don't know if you have anything, guys, that have anything to say to that.
How do I teach these kids?
How do I reach these kids?
Well, you know what I really thought was really interesting about watching the movie again is they don't make much of it about race. It's more about economic station in life.
Exactly.
And the location of Islos. And what was really interesting is it doesn't play up. Nowadays, people say, well, you have to play up the race card, and you have to, when really, when people are going to school now, we've got school. People have been going to school with all kinds of people now for a while. It's not like the 70s or even the 60s when West Side Story was made, when the Puerto Ricans and the whites were living they were butted up against each other in neighborhoods, and a lot of people that were Puerto Ricans were newly immigrated to America, and there's a whole different thing that was happening. But now we've got all kinds of different kinds of people, and what was so great about Stand and Deliver is it works for everybody. It's a story that everybody can identify because it doesn't lean heavily into race. We can tell where it's taking place, and we understand. We can see in front of our eyes the class makeup, and we can see Mr. Escalante. But the point is, it's not about race. It's about education, and it's about kids, and it's about teachers, and it's universal. And even though it's set in a certain neighborhood and has a certain group of people, the story works whether you're Latino or not. It's all about Mr. Escalante saying, look, if you want to teach these kids, you got to make them come up to your level. You've got to assume that these kids are a lot smarter than you think they are. And you've got to give them that opportunity. And that's what you want a teacher to say, whether he's white, black, purple, green, Latino, Chinese, whatever. That movie has a universal story about what it means to teach kids, all kids, everywhere. And that's why it works. And nowadays, like, well, you've got to Latin this, you got to make this, you got to Chicano this bitch up. You got to lean into that. And it's like, no, you don't have to do that. And that's why Stand and Deliver is such a great film, because it just was. It was about a real man who really existed in a real neighborhood in LA. And the neighborhood in LA was what it was. And they didn't have to lean heavily on the race card, because it was obvious to anybody watching it what was going on. And because they did that, it didn't fall into stereotypes. And that's why it's a great movie, because everybody can watch it. And yet at the same time, it's the story of a very specific group of people in a specific Los Angeles neighborhood from a specific ethnic group, which everybody who's watching the movie understands. And Jaime Escalante is a hero to the Latin community, but he's also a hero to the world. And that's what makes it great.
Right, as I kept pointing out. I mean, he changed this public school. Go ahead.
And Renegade, you can, Vigilante Williamson, either one of you two guys, I'm curious as to see what your reaction is going to be to what I'm about to say. And, maybe Paulie too. I frankly think that I don't want a Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry can kiss my ass, because there's a lot of debate. I have a lot of friends who are in the black community. They're business people. They're leaders. They're millionaires. They make a lot of money. Tyler Perry is exactly the kind of filmmaker that they cannot stand, that they think has made a lot of money off of tropes, that they think has basically represented on screen. Sure, he's made a lot of money. Sure, he's, made some cash and got some big fat deposit slips. But it's not exactly the way that they would like to see their stories be told, their history be told, their community represented on screen. In fact, he's regarded by the people that I know that tend to be educated and established business people who have worked hard to build their businesses and get to where they're at, educated and so forth, that they find the movies offensive, and they find it to be the absolutely best money making of the worst parts of their cultural community. So I don't want a Tyler Perry. I may make Mexican jokes here and there and fun and jest, but I don't want to see horrific stereotypes on screen of the worst that our community has to offer. I want to see great filmmaking. I want to see Stand and Deliver. I want to see all of the best, the things that Robert Meyer Burnett could talk about on his show. I don't want to see movies. Robert's not going to, Robert, I love you to pieces, but let's just face facts. If I come on a midnight show, you and I are going to sit there and talk about Tyler Perry type movies at length. Now we can respect what he's done as a businessman.
Right.
But we're not going to sit there and talk about great stories.
No, yeah, and you're. I've heard that criticism before, and I don't have that
criticism.
I don't think you're wrong,
Mr. Williamson. What would you say, sir? I listen to your podcast every day. So,
yeah, you do. You send super chats, and I appreciate it. On the Vigilante Wednesday channel, 200 people appeared into plug. Please sub to my channel.
How do you feel about what I just said?
Oh my God,
I agree with it. So that's why I was focused on the business standpoint. I was focused on. Yeah, hey, gotta plug. You always gotta plug. You always gotta market. This is what we're talking about. You're not worth what you're worth what you negotiate. So I gotta negotiate with the people to say, you know what, I am worth of stuff. So
anyway, back to the comment. I asked you a question. How do you feel?
I agree with it. That's why I stay focused on the business side. I want the business side of Tyler Perry. I want someone with that business mindset. But I've never liked any of his films. I only watched one and I saw what it was. And that was basically my interpretation. Now, I've softened on Tyler Perry over the years. If you would have asked me this 10 years ago, I'd have been like, oh my God, fuck. Da, da, da. And I even said earlier, I'm sick of the emasculation of black men and men in general. It's not just black. They're emasculating everybody now. But I have so much more respect for the business side of it that while I absolutely do not want that creative side, I do not want a trope filled. I think that's how Hollywood got into this mess. It's just relying on tropes and being so trope happy and lacking originality. So yeah, I agree with you there. Creatively, no, I do not want a Tyler Perry. Business wise, though, someone who builds their own studio, someone who comes up with their own, innovative, someone who comes up with their own IP and IPs and can make, I wish people use that framework, but yes, make legitimately good film. You have to make good film and don't lean into stereotypes. And as somebody said, Tyler Perry is a minstrel, and I kind of, man, I'm not the only person who said that. A lot of people have said. Yeah, Boondocks have criticized Tyler Perry. There are a lot of people who've been critical of his actual creative. Yes, I would agree with that.
I would say this though: Tyler Perry has also been branching out, and he's been making thrillers. He's been making family-oriented television shows, and his Medea character. And look, we all look. I like watching movies about like Step Brothers. Stupid, which you could say stupid cracker white people stereotype. That people can make money off that, but I think Tyler Perry is using his success and he's branching out. He's giving a lot of up and coming black filmmakers a shot. He's basically making the careers of half of black Hollywood, and he is really responsible. What's that?
He's giving a lot of people their start. So that's like there's.
Yeah, I mean,
he is bad, and I just guess they go good.
I think that Medea, though, it was look. I don't think that there's any problem with people who are leaning into lowbrow humor because that has a long tradition all the way back to Greece. Where people have always and Medea, a cross-dressing woman that he plays is I get that, but that's what allowed him to build his studio and get his freedom. And in terms of being able to make whatever he wanted to make, and now he controls his own destiny. And I think that he's using his power for good. He's wielding his power, and he's establishing a black power base where nobody can tell him what to do. And he's giving a whole new generation of black filmmakers and black actors a shot. And
I can see that, Bob, I totally can see that and see that completely. I can see that because he does have an outstanding reputation for that. And had he not built the foundation that he had, he wouldn't be able to do that.
Right. I've never heard a bad word.
I think what Paulie talks about is Paulie's feels of frustration across the board in 2 or 3 different areas simultaneously. And I think he's really hit the nail on the head in a lot of ways with these articles that you guys have been sharing. And at some point, though, there's got to be a fix. There's got to be a reset. This can't go on forever. I don't believe.
Independent. It got to be independent sources. Somebody call it Tyler Perry ICP. That's a funny comparison. That is an app.
I'd like to read a couple of super chats, and I want to get some thoughts from Clobber Times and Valiant. We haven't heard from them in a while.
Where are you going? Jump because I got to go walk my dogs before I do midnight.
Where are you going?
I have to go.
He's got his midnight show starting in 4 minutes.
You stay right there, sir.
Robert has to go plug himself into the fucking wall for about 30 minutes so he can recharge.
I gotta walk Gilbert and Tallulah on their mile-long walk so they can do their business before they come in for the night.
I hear you. Okay, sir.
But we got to do more of this. I mean, I'd love to continue these. These are the kind of conversations I think that are worth having, as opposed to just talking shit about everybody. I think these are really important conversations that we all need to be having, because I think they're very constructive and they're very illuminating. And being able to get different perspectives from all different kinds of people in a erudite, respectful fashion, this is the kind of thing we desperately need more of.
I agree with you completely, brother. And look at the 6, 7 of us. We're coming from completely, totally different points of views.
Yeah,
in fandom and experience.
But are we really though? Are we real? No. I think that we might be different kinds of people, but I think we're all on the same page in the sense that we all believe in diversity of thought, diversity of ideas, diversity of voices, but for their own sakes. Because diversity of thought and diversity of expression, this is what makes us strong as a people. And not because we want to come off, we need, what do I always say? Every single person you meet has a story to tell that you have yet to hear. And all you have to do is listen. Yeah. We need all voices. We need voices to cut through the crowd. And people shouldn't be hired because of a color of their skin. They should be hired because they're smart and they have something to say. And they have a story to tell that we have yet to hear. A story of an experience that the rest of us might not know about, that's worth hearing. And we are better people when we've heard it. And that's what we need more of. Not because somebody just says, well, we need more Latino voices. No. You need more Latino voices that have great stories to tell, that illuminate the human condition and explain to us what Latino members of the community are going through that we might not know. And we need to hear those stories so we can understand about our neighbors and our friends and people that we work alongside, people that live in our neighborhoods. And we're not hearing those stories, and we need to, so we can understand and respect. That's what we need.
Love you, man. You have a great show tonight.
Maybe you'll come on. Maybe you'll come on, Paulie.
No. I'm waiting. Romy's almost home, and I've been streaming all day. And
all right. Well, I will.
But you're gonna come on. You come on my show next week. I'll give you a holler. I want to continue this conversation. Love
absolutely.
You, man.
And we'll come on. Come on, Midnight Metal.
Come on my show any week because
I'll come on. Wednesdays. Let's do it. Anytime, I'll go anywhere.
Any Wednesday you're free.
Please. I'm in. Count me in.
Vigilante, don't be hijacking my shit. Valiant Renegade, you had a
live long and prosper.
R&B, take care, man.
Later, R&B. Thank you.
All right, peace out, R&B.
Wanted to get a couple of thoughts from Clobber and Valiant, who haven't said anything in a while, guys.
Hey, Nina.
We probably didn't do super chats though.
Hello. Do some super chats.
Yeah, finish up the super chats, guys. You good?
Actually, we're caught up. I think Paulie was just away when we caught him up.
No, I haven't read them, but
no, we haven't read them yet.
I can read them.
Oh, look at that shirt.
Nice.
Look at that.
No, I read the super chats.
There you go.
No, Eric K.
and
for $5 said,
"Oh, I didn't see those."
Yeah, like him or not, Tyler Perry is one of the most successful transvestites ever. Not my cup of tea.
He's not my cup of tea, and like I said, I'm pretty mixed on him. But like business wise, R&B was talking about diversity. We need diversity of thought so bad. I'm so sick of seeing multicolored people remake the same properties over and over and over. I don't even care that these are woke. I'm almost done with the woke conversation. Just stop remaking stuff. Make something new. I can't believe MGM or Amazon spent $8 billion on all these properties that, for the most part, would not give them their money back when they could have spent less than a quarter of that developing new properties. It's mind-boggling to me.
Actually, I guess I missed one from 70s too. I gotta go find it.
Yeah, Valiant. Do you have anything to add?
Oh man, you guys have had such a great conversation tonight. I was just kind of shutting up and listening.
Imagine that.
Yeah, really, Mike. I know. No, all I would say was, yeah, I agree. There's a certain definitive mechanical nature that is pervasive in Hollywood now. And y'all talked about, I grew up. I was an '80s kid. I was born in '79, and I grew up with so much original content at that point. And when I see things coming out now, I have 3 kids. The oldest is almost 16. The youngest is just 10. And they're growing up with mostly rehashed crap. And it's not like when we were growing up and you had so much original good content. Now everything feels like it's mechanically being pumped out by Google algorithms inside of a studio office. And they're handing it off to writers and directors and saying, here, this is what the computer and the Twitter hashtags say. Go make this shit. And it's become boring. It's become repetitive. We constantly see things get remade, or rebooted or whatever from years ago, and they're doing very poor jobs of it. Storytelling is not coming first anymore. Yeah. It's depressing. And, everything these days, to them, living in their own bubble, living in their own little section of the world, that they seem so disconnected from the rest of actual humanity. I don't even think that they understand it half the time. I think that day of reckoning is coming. I think we're seeing it now this year, as theaters are opening back up, and we see the big budget production houses like Disney cranking out these movies that, quite frankly, it seems obvious that they were designed to fit a very specific audience metric. Things like Mulan, things like Raya and the Last Dragon. Now we got Shang-Chi. What has been the buzz around these things? Not that great. We just got Cruella come out a couple of weeks ago. And a little old horror movie sequel from John Krasinski kicked its ass in the box office 2-1.
And The Conjuring.
And I was about to say that. Thank you, Paulie.
Yeah, it was really
The
good.
Conjuring came out the next weekend and took the first place spot away from A Quiet Place, but A Quiet Place still had a great box. Cruella got dumped in third place with 11 million. Oh, but it's on Disney Plus, right? Yeah, well, The Conjuring was on HBO Max, which is where I watched it for free, not for an extra $30, for free. People love that kind of stuff. It's simple. It doesn't cost much. That kind of ties into the Tyler Perry thing, which is where I was going with this. And again, like you guys have said, I've probably seen, I think, at least 1 or 2 of the Tyler Perry Medea films. And I mean, yeah, they're okay. They're fun and they're funny. And I kind of think about, when I see that, it's like watching Eddie Murphy when in the latter Eddie Murphy, not the early younger Eddie Murphy that was great and brilliant, but the latter Eddie Murphy when he started doing the Nutty Professors, which were good movies and funny. You do 1 or 2 things like that, and then you move on to something else. And I understand the criticism with Tyler Perry, as much of a business and financial respect that I have for the man, for all of the reasons you guys have already said. Yeah. So I won't cover him again. But, he's dragged that out now for what? A dozen, 15, 20 films. So I can understand the criticisms coming from that community where it's like, okay, it was cute in the beginning, but like you said, Vigilante, it's become a trope, right? And it's like, it's just keep hitting that same button over and over again. But for a guy like Tyler, he's like, well, you know what? If people keep showing up and buying tickets for it, fuck it, I'll keep doing it. So anyway, that's it.
You said about things changing a little bit. The one thing it is nice to see, right, from the article that we had. It's nice to see a journalist be a journalist and actually have the balls to, and then the LA Times have the balls to fucking put this article out, because that's a big deal. It's a big deal. Trenchman $1.99, is a divide of entertainment inevitable?
Maybe if you're talking about from mainstream and independent, because it has to happen. It really has to, because we're not going to get good story if not. Because I think that's the one thing we're united in. We just want to see good movies.
That's it. I'd be curious to know exactly what he means. I mean, what is the nature of that entertainment divide? Because that could be a lot of different things. That is a wide. I get where you're going, but you know that could mean a lot of things to a lot of different people.
And Trenchman came in for another $1.99 saying, "I fainted seeing He-Man fighting to Bonnie Tyler."
Yeah, it was something.
That was awesome.
I don't want to get honey dicked by this trailer, but yeah. And then 70s Rock fan, I sent in a super chat earlier. Says, well, you know what? Let's just bring the man in here. How you doing there?
Oh
no.
Hey, 70s.
He says,
"What is he here?"
Yeah, he's right here.
What up?
He says, much as I disdain the Academy and the Oscars in the woke era, it's interesting that their picks in this year's Nomadland and The Father were actually really good movies, both made outside Hollywood. Well, that's your that's the point you made earlier, 70s Rock fan.
Yeah, and they weren't particularly woke either, so I found them quite fascinating. Obviously, not genre movies. We all love our sci-fi and action and horror, etc. But they're very much not that kind of movies. But they actually were good. But one was British and one was a very independent American production. With
the 80s had a bunch of creativity on both sides of the pond, and I'm curious. I'd like to ask you, 70s, and Tom, and maybe Paulie. I mean, if anyone who wants to chime in, but some of our elder statesmen here. What was it so unique? Regardless of which year you want to argue, what was so unique that we got so much stuff in those 2, 3, 4 different years of the 80s? What things converged that made that happen?
That's an interesting question.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
I think popular entertainment and zeitgeist have converged several times over the decades, but I think they really truly did come together in the 80s, and I think it was a combination of the action and genre fields suddenly started to become a lot bigger with the general public, and they appealed to a wider group, and I think they were trying to make movies that had that scope. You got movies like Highlander or Braveheart, you got your action films, you got your science fiction epics. It just seemed that there was a lot of that focus on making something that would make the audience happy, but that doesn't mean it was bad. They weren't churning it out. It was the zeitgeist just met the creativity at that point. Why it disappeared again, I don't know, and it's somewhat disappeared now. I mean, it just appealed to people. What they were making appealed to people, and they wanted to see it. They want, I'll give you my money. I want to go see this.
Yeah, and Ron Guerra says the bean counters, SJWs ruin movies and TV shows. Well, if the bean counters actually had their say, they'd probably be telling you guys ain't making no damn money.
Exactly, Tom. That's just it. It's not the bean counters. It's
the financiers ruined it. The financiers who are willing to pay and lose money and have you do Batwomen for the cause. 4 seasons.
Because
they have their money.
It's not just the movie industry, guys. It's across the board. No. I tell you, somebody looking, that's been in the world of business and finance for 20 years almost now, professionally. You see this across the board. You can pull up Twitter and see it. It's companies. Look right now, they will virtue signal because they're being told that, you know what, you need to hire these 20 and 30 somethings out of college because they're going to get you in touch with that 18 to 49 demographic, and you need to set your marketing department up to do what they tell you to do. And they're going to come in and tell you that Twitter hashtags are life because these kids, I say kids, I mean, I'm talking to the 20 and 30 somethings. I don't mean
they are kids.
Well, yeah, I mean, but they believe that represents
so
the broad spectrum of the country.
Twitter, and so no one uses Twitter.
Yeah.
You're seeing this, not only in Hollywood, but everywhere else, guys. This is not just relegated to Hollywood. So that's it. That's all. Just,
and welcome, Jed. We're going to be wrapping up eventually here soon, but welcome to the conversation just the same.
Thank you, Tom.
Go ahead, Seven.
I was going to
say something.
Tom, you sacrificed Robert Meyer Burnett and you got me and Jed. So.
Yeah, I know, right?
Well, no, I just everybody wanted to come in, and I'm like, well,
sound like a bar.
That's the thing is already Klobby's been real quiet, and Vidge and Valiant have also had to kind of take a back seat since Robert and Paulie and Mike had a lot to talk about, and that's
no worries.
And that was something I really wanted to make sure they had a chance to.
It's funny. I don't mean to walk out on you, Jed. I love you to pieces. Of 70s, I love you to pieces. But my dog is scratching at the door, and if not,
no problem.
I gotta pop
guys.
Something ugly.
I'm gonna head out.
All right. Well, we're gonna be shutting her down here pretty soon anyway. But
all right, man.
All right. Take care, Mike, and
thanks. Keep going. Keep the discussion going. This is a great show.
Later,
guys. This has been amazing to be on. Amazing to be with both of you guys.
Thanks,
all you guys, including.
I don't know what you guys, whether you guys think entertainment is a dirty word, because in the 80s, entertainment was not a dirty word. There was a desire, I believe, in Hollywood, and I'm not connected with Hollywood in any way. There seemed to be a desire to entertain the public. They wanted to make movies that people enjoyed. John Carpenter, guys like that, they were really keen to make people get their bums on seats, make them come into the cinema. They weren't trying to preach to them. They weren't trying to knock them over the head with, this is what we think you're going to want. It seemed to be that they definitely wanted to please the public. Now, that could be seen as a very oh my God, we shouldn't be doing that. Entertainment, that's not art. I don't know. It just felt like an entertaining era. And as a result, I went to the cinema 5 times a week in the 80s. It was just, it was always something. It was like, that's great. That looks good. I don't know. What do you think? Is entertainment a dirty word, or should we be should Hollywood be entertaining the public, or is it their duty to
they damn sure ain't making art with what they're coming out with. So if they're trying to be, if this is supposed to be high art, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. You know what I mean?
Well,
I don't understand what's so artistic about making Leia float through space.
Well, the first goal back then in the 80s was these were artists who wanted to make a great product that people would go see. They weren't interested in agendas. It's that simple. It really is that simple.
Yeah.
Yes.
I remember back when I was younger, we went to the movies like 70 said. We went to movies 4 or 5 times a week, and on the weekend, I would go to. So I had a friend that he saw me come to the movie theater so much. He owned a theater. He goes, dude, you can come here as much as you want now. Like, you paid in your money. He owned the place. He's like, you just come over here. You can do whatever you want. Because we literally, my family went there a ton. We, Indy, Star Wars, Superman, all these awesome properties that came out that had the imagination, that had everything that, everything, it's just, and now it's just,
Yeah, I mean, and Logo said something about the drive-in. Shout out to the Ford Drive-In Theater in Dearborn, in the Detroit area. I went to that damn thing every week in the 90s.
Yeah,
like
love
every
the drive-in.
week it was a new movie.
We still have a drive. I live very close next to one of Arizona's only drive-ins left, and they make bank there every weekend. So it's packed every weekend, no matter if there's. Even when the theaters were open, they're packed.
Yeah.
Too, so.
Stephen Otten comes in with $5. I got to grab these super chats here. They've been waiting patiently. Thank you, Stephen. Says, great panel, intelligently discussing an important topic. Valiant, you made my point even better than I could. So there you go, Valiant, on that one. And then Trenchman says, I may be a defender of the new Snake Eyes, but I have doubts about its success and the director behind it. No offense to the cast and toys. Yeah, I know that's been a point of contention with a lot of fans. But other than that, I know it's getting on it's past 1 now. I was gonna be doing some MEAD radio maybe.
Cool.
Oh yeah.
Back?
Oh, you're allowed to go back on there now, Tom?
Tom, it's only 11 p.m. Pacific. Come on, man.
Dude, it's 1 a.m. where we are.
We're just getting started here.
Yeah, it's 2 a.m. here.
Yeah, me and 70s are in the same time zone. So.
Yeah, as much as I'd love to keep doing this, but I'm thinking it's chill time.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having us.
No, absolutely. I mean,
thank you, Tom.
You guys got anything?
So glad.
Nina, that's a great movie.
Nina,
that's a great film.
Yeah, you've been so quiet, man. No, don't be sorry, man. You've been so quiet, dude. Is there anything you got to say about all this business that's been going on tonight?
I just enjoyed listening to everyone talk about it. I don't know much about a lot of those subjects that Paulie knows, but I'm always there for him when he needs me to be there. And I would just say that, yes, Midnight Run is a great film. And sadly, Charles Grodin just passed away a couple of weeks back. And I watched that. I can't tell how many times I watched that film when it came out in the theater and then over and over again. And one time, a buddy of mine at my comic shop, we counted all the F words in it. We lost count at about 30 minutes into it.
Yeah. Did you have a drinking game around it? Yeah.
You can't have a drinking game for a Midnight Run. You can't.
It'd be replacement liver run then, yeah.
Love it. Great film.
That's a movie, a great example. A movie that was fun, exciting, had action, had comedy. It just entertained you. You didn't care whether or not what the nationality or race or gender or whatever of any of these people were. It was just fun.
Another fun movie, like Cressy said in chat, Cannonball Run and Cannonball Run 2. Two of my favorites. Yeah. And, God bless everybody that's not in those movies, but I still tear, I love those movies like to death. So,
and it's possible to entertain and make something artistic too. I mean, if you look at James Cameron, the Terminator 2, Aliens, these are groundbreaking movies. In a lot of ways, and took a lot of technical effort and a lot of skill to cinematography skill and direction skill to make them, but they're kick-ass, exciting movies.
Anthony did say Blues Brothers, the first Blues Brothers. Yes.
The first one. Yeah.
I went to the movie theater and saw that like in the theater like 10 times.
You couldn't make a movie like that now.
No.
There's not an 80s film you could make right now.
Yeah, very few. I mean, the Blues Brothers, it's got literal Nazis in it. It's
I love it though.
Illinois ones, but yeah,
but it's. I love when he turns in the car to the other one and goes, "I've always loved you." That's when when the car's going off the cliff or wherever.
Harvey Johnson or whatever.
Yeah.
All right, kids. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, my friend. I was just going to say you were going to wrap up. So
I was going to let y'all plug your channels if you got anything coming up, and I just shared the link in the chat for some MEAD Radio. So why don't we head on over there and chill out? I just going to chill and listen to some tunes with you guys, and
for sure. Yeah.
Cool.
All right, so let's start
some really obscure stuff for you. Some obscure requests.
Oh, you guys always do. Klobby, let's start with you, buddy.
Oh well, thank you. My channel's Clobbering Times. Saturday night Star Trek. The wonderful Raquel Briggs and myself, our ongoing mission is to review all of Star Trek, real Star Trek only, 6605. And tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Central, we will be finishing up a review of Star Trek, the animated series. We started with the original series. We're doing animated, then next the original cast films, and then the rest, the other series as well, TNG, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Enterprise, and the only real Trek. I'm going to review it all. So, and then Monday nights, I do Comics Talk. Mark C. Comics Talk, and great Stone Loki will be joining me to talk about the character of Loki, not the TV show that Valiant Renegade loves so much. Or maybe a little bit of a t-shirt.
The character has been somewhat destroyed, but never mind.
It has.
All right, so check out Klobby's channel and Valiant. Got anything coming up or anything you want to plug?
I don't have anything in particular on the queue yet. I do have a couple of ideas in mind, but I will say this. I will plug this. In case you guys didn't know, this was just released a couple of hours ago. You can come visit tomorrow night on Echo Base Network at 7 p.m. Central, and Coach and Nick will be hosting the one, the only, Alan Dean Foster.
Nice. That is very nice.
That's pretty huge. They have great streams in general. I love that.
Yeah.
So we will be hanging out there tomorrow night. I'll be lurking in the chat with Coach and Nick, and it's going to be a great show.
They always do great interviews. I love coaching over there. All right, so check that out, and check out Valiant's channel, of course, if you haven't already. And Vigilante Williamson, tell them about your channel, what you got coming up.
You were able to tell us apart. No one's able to do that.
I've never ever fucked you guys up. You guys got to give me that much.
No, Tom has always had. It's comics division. Comics cannot get it right. That's for sure. He's gotten better.
Gary, and it's a thing. It's a repeating thing. It's the V in the RW. It's just like it's in the same space in your memory. All right, Vigilante Williamson. I've been streaming pretty much every day this week, one way or another, sometimes twice, because I also do a lot of I've been getting into the retro gaming really hard. I'm trying to get an actual retro gaming set up so I don't have to play the legal games too much. But outside of retro gaming, talk about a lot of stuff we talk about here. Pop culture with I'm not even gonna say political because I hate both parties, I hate both sides. It's more of just a slant, and I just give my take, just like we were talking about with and I try to always be fair. Like Tyler Perry's not somebody I'll never watch a Tyler Perry movie, but I respect his business side, and I think you can chew the meat, eat the meat and chew the fat. Like you don't have to take everything from somebody, but in general, for our entertainment to survive, we need independent voices. We need independent entertainment. Hollywood they're the milkman. They're an obsolete model and an obsolete town, and we have to replace them. And all I do is just talk about how stupid they are and try to crack jokes along the way. So please sub to my channel. I'll probably be doing a stream who knows, I might even just pop up and do a retro gaming stream tonight while listening to MEAD Radio. So please check me out and please give me a sub. I really appreciate everybody here. Yeah, and I know Go and New Bomb Turk. New Bomb Turk is a huge part of my channel. He also has a channel you should sub to if you like racing games. He's a racing sim guy. So yeah, I appreciate being here, Tom, and I appreciate everyone else on the panel. So thank you.
Of course, bitch. All right, and Jed, I know we only had you for a little bit, but tell them about your channel real quick. If you got anything coming up?
Oh yeah, we are gonna be doing for the next 2 days. We're gonna be doing E3 stuff. So if you guys want to come over and chat and like have a ball over there and watch the conferences with us, come over there. And then we're gonna be doing that tomorrow. That in the morning. I don't remember which conference is first. One of them's first. But we already have all the stuff set up on our channel. Just go over there and look. And then Sunday we're gonna be doing the Xbox Bethesda's conference. And after all that's over, we're gonna do a little bit more, and then we're gonna go into our normal stuff, like the jokes and laughs. And Tom pops up there almost every week too. So when he can pop in, and like 70s is there. Vigilante came over there this week for the first time. I've been trying to get him for weeks. Yeah. So we it's like Cheers. Everybody comes over, pops in, pops out, you know. So, yeah, so if you guys can subscribe to us and everything else, thank you very much. And Tom, thank you for letting me be on Midnight's Edge for the first time.
Yeah, sorry it took so long. I didn't want to.
We'll do something else.
And I would have felt bad if everybody would just sat here as quiet as Klobby and all the rest were already. Yeah. So I was like, I'll hold off a little bit.
Yeah, and please subscribe to my partner in crime over there, Clobbering. He's trying to hit 1,000 so he can get monetized. So everybody, please subscribe to him, please.
Let's get that done. I don't know if you guys. Here on the MEAD channel,
and Valiant Renegade are close, so please sub to them. There's 100 some odd you sub. If all you sub to Clobbering Times and Valiant Renegade, they both be that much closer.
Yeah, and ours too. So you know.
Quick little story. I don't know if you guys know this out in the Midnight's Edge audience right now, but this just goes to show you how small a world it is.
Oh, yeah.
I used to go to the comic book shop when I was a kid. Clobbering's a little bit older than me, and buy comic books from him 30 years ago.
Wow. Yeah. There was one I was running for a friend of mine.
Yeah.
It was one of the ones I was running for a friend of mine.
I hope you got good value for money.
Yes, he would bring comics up to the counter, and I would say, "You're buying this crap? What is wrong with you? No, buy this." I don't understand it.
I've got a question. Were there any girls in the shop?
Tons. Nothing but girls. Very few dudes ever.
Oh,
you
well,
mean
Amelia
just
Clark
asking.
said there's
No,
no girls ever allowed in comic shops.
No
She
girls
wasn't
are allowed.
allowed.
So there was no
That's why she
girls
had to make
swinging
a
with their
period
armpit
piece.
hair around the place or anything?
No.
girls
So-
allowed.
Not
no.
maybe once in a while.
It's just, you know, just
We were begging for girls to come into our comic shops.
And that movie originally came out in the 70s. For those who may not know what I'm talking about, of course, Snoopy come home.
Of
with
course.
Oh,
the
yeah.
dogs. Speaking of
Dogs
70s,
allowed.
we got that 70s
And
rock
Valiant-
fan here. Talk about a
Alrighty.
segue.
Well,
That's
first
a
of all,
segue, baby.
First of all, I would like-
Tupper.
sorry, mate, I'd like to pay tribute to the great Vigilante Will Renegudson, who's one of the.
Are they married now?
He's a. They are. There's
Vigilante.
the merits like a xenomorph. They're coming together in some way.
You can fuse.
And I would like to plug all of these guys' channels. All of you guys, all great. I hang about in all of them. I sometimes appear at your discretion to speak as well. So thank you all for that. I do have a little channel of my own, That 70s Rock Fan, which I talk about science fiction books. I just uploaded a video this week on Philip Jose Farmer's Riverworld series. So please check that out. And I do also do some music stuff about obscure 1970s rock bands that nobody remembers anymore, called the Underlooked Bands. And as I say, I just hang about in other people's stuff and have fun. So thank you, and thanks, Tom, for having me on tonight.
No problem. Yeah, same thing like before. Like everybody all of a sudden wanted to come on. I'm like, so like
because you're beloved. You're beloved.
I should plan it better. But yeah, all right, kids. I'm gonna close this out. So do check out all their channels. I'm gonna head on over to MEAD Radio. I'm gonna share that link once again in the chat for those who want to hop on over there and join us. Till then, kids, stay safe and don't sweat the petty things and don't pet the sweaty things, I guess.
Good night, everyone.
Classic.
Believe the hype.
Classic.
Koalas in the rain.
No, we're gonna go out with a lazy puppy because that's what Tom is.
Oh.
According to some people, Tom's a lazy puppy, but we're not gonna name names. We're not gonna name names here.